Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat for the week of January 14th, 2015. I am your host, Jose Otero, and this is not 2015, it's 2016. I messed up and neither one of you caught it. Once again, you are joining IGN's Nintendo show, the one you know and love. We are back for a brand new year. Joining me once again, Brian Altano.
Rap.
That is a very tired Brap. What's going on in your life?
No, you briefed me on some news that we're going to get into in a minute, and it's not great, so I'm curbing my enthusiasm a bit.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll save the bad news for the end of the show.
Everything's awesome in Nintendo Land.
No, it ain't that good. Cut the music. And joining us once again, Per Schneider.
I don't even own underpants.
Is that true?
Why are you saying that on the show? Okay, that's fine.
If you didn't catch us last week, we did our missing no.
What are you talking about? There's no such thing as missing no.
We talked about making a
I don't know what a missing no is.
A secret episode that we did? What are you talking about?
It's not. It's a secret.
It's available in our archives if you know where to look.
So, IGN's Best of 2015 awards happened. Splatoon won Best Shooter and Best Competitive Multiplayer. Wii U Game of the Year as voted by... So, first of all, I guess before I keep going, these are voted by IGN staff, by a select group of people. The Wii U Game of the Year for Nintendo was Super Mario Maker. The 3DS Game of the Year was Zelda Triforce Heroes, which kind of surprised me a little. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about these awards and also make my case because I was disappointed by our choice for Wii U Game of the Year.
Okay.
My vote was that Splatoon should have been IGN's Best Wii U Game of the Year.
Sure.
And I felt that way for a lot of reasons, as not just as a new IP for Nintendo, which granted that's the easiest thing to point to, right? Oh, look at this new thing that Nintendo finally made, and it's good and it's paint, but just also that it was a game that had sort of a slow climb. Like when it came out, obviously there was the initial disappointment by how much content it launched with, but then they just kept adding to it. And they just kept adding to it.
Yep.
And you got into monthly Splatfest events, which aren't great, but are getting, I feel like they eventually did kind of rope at least the people in the office who play into that and kind of talking about it. I think also the Transformers Splatfest was really smart, but that doesn't have to do with the nomination. I think mechanically is a strong game. I think single player wise, it's a little weak on content, but it makes up for it with a really strong multiplayer package, a game that felt like it constantly gave you reasons to come back. And that's not to disparage our choice with Mario Maker. I feel like Mario Maker was an excellent choice. Nintendo's first course builder where you were able to upload like these crazy contraptions and creations to the internet. You had costumes. You had all of this fun fanfare for a genre that has been part of video games since video games came back to life, since Nintendo entered the video game race in 30 years ago. But I thought Splatoon had better and more interesting ideas.
Pretty passionate speech there, Jose.
Thank you.
Well, I feel
practiced.
like, honestly, there was no wrong choice here. I love Splatoon. I thought it was already a good game at launch. And it just got better, and I had a ton of fun with it. And honestly, I think there's nothing wrong with a game that is multiplayer only, like a Battlefront or a Titanfall, when it is made clear to the audience. And like Splatoon wasn't that. I think a lot of people think it does not have single player. It actually has fun single player.
It does.
It is not the main star. It's not the star attraction of that game. But it's a fantastic title. Whereas Mario Maker is a little bit more complicated because it really depends on what kind of person you are, right? Like Splatoon, I feel like anyone can have fun with it, whether you play online or offline or you're a team player. It's not daunting like a Call of Duty where you get really discouraged very quickly because other players advance more than you. It is just a very smartly developed game. Mario Maker, I think, is a little bit harder if you're not the person who loves to create levels and spend a lot of time tinkering. Then it is not as good of a game for you. And I think
you have a way to dip into this big community of levels and things, but it's not optimized.
Of autoplay music levels, yes.
Well, that's what's dominating the charts, much to your chagrin.
Still happening.
Well, I know people that have sat down with Mario Maker for an hour and walked away and were like, that game sucks. And I'm like, why? And they're like, I didn't like any of the levels I played. So it's sort of just like, if you get a bad hand, it's just not good for you. But I've sat down, I actually loved even playing the Nintendo-made courses in there. They're still some of my favorite ones. In the kind of tutorial section stuff. But I've sat down some nights and played that game for an hour and played just really bad levels and then come back the next day and played it for an hour and played nothing but really good levels. So it really all depends on what you kind of stumble upon. But yeah, ultimately, I think people remember that game as this amazing creation tool where a lot of people used it to create autoplay music.
Yeah,
levels.
and it is my Wii U game of the year. I picked
too.
it over Splatoon, and
Interesting.
that's saying something because I really think Splatoon is remarkable.
Absolutely. I think you put in more time in Splatoon this year.
But Super Mario Maker to me, it's this realization of my dreams that I can try my hands at creating something. And I heard you speak about it on another podcast. I think it may have been GameScoop or something. Where we found out or beyond, we found out that a lot of people are not good game designers, and it gives you this appreciation for how good Nintendo really is at creating platform levels.
But I think the other problem is that there are some really good game designers, and you will never find people who are just armchair game designers, and you will never find their stages because, sadly, search, and even though the bookmark site came out, and that's a Band-Aid for sure, but I still feel like there are level creators I'm finding more and more about each day that I didn't know they've been making levels all this time because I'm not paying that much attention. And you would think that the game and maybe set people within Nintendo would be their job to promote some of that stuff to the forefront. And it doesn't seem to be the case.
No, the featured list there's something wrong.
Yeah, the bookmarks list is nice because there's a good there's a good set of, none of them are autoplay levels, or at least most of the times I've checked they're not. Instead, it's divided by like easy, average, expert. But like guys like, for example, Awesome Games Done Quick was like last week, and they had this amazing Mario Maker race, which you can watch it on the site. We actually had a feature on the site about some of the best speedruns that came out of it. And it was this awesome gauntlet of levels that these players had not seen before, and creators like Panga is one of the level designers. Another guy named Carl Sagan made some levels. There's a few others.
Carl Sagan made levels in that game. That's crazy.
He made billions and billions of levels.
But the bigger point is that these guys make amazing levels that won't hold your hand, and that some of them could be a little too hard, but good luck finding them through
but
at least what the in-game has.
But you can, and that's...
You can, but it's more word of mouth. And the in-game stuff and the bookmark site, the in-game stuff is not cutting the mustard to me.
But see, that's okay. It is okay by me. I think it's a disappointment that the tools aren't better to let you discover the truly good stuff. Like it is obviously based on popularity and stars, and they created a system that lets you discover it. They didn't anticipate that there would be a very, very young audience of kids who would love to hear the Pokemon theme 1,000 times. And keep replaying those levels, right? Like, it happens on YouTube too. Some of the biggest videos on YouTube are arguably not the best videos ever made, and you will find those more easily than the better pieces of content. That said,
especially because the way YouTube recommends things to you is by like something you watch, and they're like, oh, you should check this out, and then they constantly throw it at you. At every other video you're on, it's a recommended piece of content.
But that doesn't change the fact that inherently Mario Maker is a fantastic level creation tool. It is just so well done because it's fun. They made it fun. Something that shouldn't be, that should be very daunting. They made actually really easy to get into. They teach you how to do it. They had freaking cat paws in it.
I think,
how can you not love something like that?
It's weird because when I look back on Mario Maker, I obviously absolutely adore it. It actually exceeded my expectations in many, many ways.
Yeah, same here.
And I think obviously it falls into a lot of the same sort of pitfalls as you guys are bringing up, which are the level design really depends on who's in charge of it, and finding stuff is kind of difficult at times. It's weird how much Mario Maker made me realize how important the progression of a Mario game is, and I think when you strip it down to just levels, the experience kind of feels hollow. Like I actually do I do like playing a set of 8 levels and then fighting a boss and then crossing a bridge and playing another set of 8 levels, even though that is always tethered together by the most loose, basic, nonsensical of stories of like, there's a cake. Oh, the party went bad. Everybody's got to go save the girl. Those bookends are stupid. But to me, the magic is what happens in between, and being able to beat a level, even back to Super Mario World or Mario 3. Even the original Super Mario Brothers, of being like, I'm in a new set. I'm in 1-1. I'm in 2-1. I'm in 3-1. There's something really cool and important about that, and I hope that if Nintendo revisits this series, they let people do that. I thought we'd get inklings of that when we first saw that sort of tutorial stuff Nintendo built out, which was you saw 8 levels in a row in a line, and I'm like, maybe they're going to let players build a world where you can actually set progression. It can be like, I'm going to put 8 levels in a world and have a boss fight at the end. And there's shadows of that in this game.
Yeah, and that would be cool to share as I don't mean to interrupt, but that would be something that's cool to share as one big chunk. Like here is Brian Altano's like 8 world Super Mario or 8 level Super Mario world. You know what I mean? And that's something that instead they preferred going for the individual stages as they were. And you make a very good point actually.
Yeah.
It means that your pacing while playing a bunch of levels in a row is kind of all over the place because you go from like an endless runner level to like a fire level to a ghost house.
Yeah.
And that doesn't normally happen as much in the game. Obviously, there's a ton of level variety in traditional, actually Nintendo-made Mario games. But yeah, I mean, that's not me. I'm not mad at this game for not being able to do that. It's just something I want to see more of as it keeps going.
Absolutely.
But to me,
I think it's a great start.
I mean, exactly. This is the first game ever like this.
Yeah.
From Nintendo. Obviously, they've done creative tools like that before, right? Like even on the
F-Zero construction kit.
F-Zero, they've done stuff on the 64DD, right? That never came out here.
Versus
but
Excitebike.
also, you know, like you've had like Mario Music applications, all that kind of stuff throughout the history of Nintendo, right? If you remember that, and
Totally.
construction kits. And so for this one, the first in this kind of franchise to have this many features and be this fun. I thought it was just awesome.
Yeah. Sure.
I still like it a lot. You need better discovery tools built in, but that's also where the internet comes in.
Yep.
Just like Minecraft, like half of the story was outside the game. It seems to be the same with Mario.
Well, admittedly, it was a close race, and I think that you know that was obviously a personal choice. I feel like they were both first new entries and brand new sets of ideas. You can say that Mario was a 2D platformer, which has been done before, but it wasn't done like this, and they really did come up with an elegant solution to make making levels fun, just as much as Splatoon turned claiming territory by spraying paint on the ground into something that felt really cool.
Yeah.
They were both very, very good. Personally, I would have gone with Splatoon. I feel like there's a bunch of people in the community who agree, but the case has been made. I'm not the one who makes the decision, so if you're sending tweets at me about it, not my problem. Like,
Well, you made a small part of the decision.
I voted for Splatoon.
Yeah. Well, the way, I mean, in interest of honesty, and I think we talked about this on other shows, but the way we did our voting was a sort of tiered point system where you picked 3 games for each category and they got more points as they went down. So all those points were tallied up. So if you said Splatoon, Mario, and then Xenoblade, it was basically 5 points, 3 points, 1 point type of thing. So
in order to sabotage Mario, what you're saying is I shouldn't have voted for it. Because that's what this system sort of sets up.
Effectively.
Yeah, but you're not a baby.
I'm not.
You're not a little
I'm
kid.
not a child. All right,
you already skipped Affordable Space Adventures, so that should have been on there.